Thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Happy to be here.
So you've kindly agreed to meet with us and talk to our attendees about our ransomware attack that your business recently experienced.
Yeah, that's right. I think it's really important that people hear the story because, everyone always thinks, it's never going to happen to them. But I want people to hear that it can.
Well, I'm really glad that you have taken time out to and agreed to meet with us and talk to us today. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
So tell me, Ruth, how did you first realise that something was not quite right in your business?
Well, we were sort of like first alerted to the problem when a small number of our clients, namely those in the financial sector, they alerted us to the fact that they were being locked out of the systems and platforms that we provide. And even though it was, it only impacted a subset of our customers, it became apparent quite quickly that there was a pattern to the problem.
So what did you do?
Well, the first thing we did was we asked our IT teams to look into what it was, because our own IT teams needed to be on top of it, I suppose, and it didn't take very long to realise that it was a cyber attack. And I mean, first, I think our clients assumed that attackers were targeting them specifically, so each business thought they were the target. But of course, we'd seen this whole pattern, and we established that the clients had been targeted through the hosted systems and platforms that we were providing them. And it's kind of like at that point, I suppose, that we had some comfort in terms of thinking that we could get the data back, because we actually had mirrored the records, but there was still some disquiet from our business and customers, of course. And the major issue was that the clients' employees couldn't actually access their systems.
And kind of at this time when you found out, what was your biggest concern?
Well, if I'm brutally honest, I think it was that, what's going to happen to our business? What does it mean for us? But then I quickly realised, of course, that the problem was a whole lot bigger than that. And I quickly moved on to how do we help our customers secure their data and get back up and running, I guess.
So once you kind of figured this out, how long did it take for the cyber criminals to contact you?
Well, not long at all. I mean, it was about within 2 hours, I suppose, of the issue being actually notified or noticed, and then they were contacting us.
And what happened then?
Well, after messages came through from the ransomware attackers, we started to look at what we needed to do about it.
And what was that?
Well, the first thing we did was we formed a real crisis team. I mean, this team was really important. It had various people across the business. From there was obviously our own security expert, finance people, legal people, digital leaders, and and we then contacted actually some the external security experts in cyberspace, cybercrime sort of space, and our insurance company. So I mean, we were quite lucky that we were, we could get a quite sophisticated team together reasonably quickly.
So you mentioned the insurance company.
Yeah.
How did they help?
The insurance company, yes. Once they realised it was a proper cyber attack, they were helping us to look at reducing the costs of the attack.
Got you. And what happened? What happened then?
Well, the next thing, we contacted the people that had blocked the systems. We wanted to try and validate from our side who they were, and I suppose we needed to know that it was a real attack, a real threat to us, or maybe it could have been just a hoax. But all in all, I mean, we were in the dark. We didn't know. We weren't really sure what was coming. It's not until you've got experts involved, who've done this sort of thing before, that you can know what's going on.
So you say you contacted the attackers. How did you do that?
Oh, we had to contact them on the dark web.
And what did they say?
Well, they presented a number of deadlines to us, saying that we had to get back to them within a certain time period.
And time period. Did you meet the deadlines?
Oh, well, we kept holding them off, to be honest. And I mean, we didn't say no. We never said no. We didn't say no, we're not going to give you anything. But we had to get really an expert negotiator in that came via our insurers.
Wow, a negotiator.
Yeah. Actually, it was someone who's absolutely invaluable to the process. I can't really tell you who it is because. But they've been involved in high-profile hostage negotiations all over the world. So yeah.
And did anyone else get involved?
Well, we contacted the authorities, but to be honest, the expert said that the authorities would be unlikely to be able to do anything of any significance about the attack, and before it was too late. I mean, the consensus was that we needed to negotiate with the cyber attackers ourselves.
And during all of this, how was your team feeling?
Well, at first, we were all terrified, but the experts were really good because it might sound really strange, but we felt more at ease once the external experts got involved.
Okay, and why was that?
Well, because I think it's because, looking back on it, those experts created a buffer between us and the attackers, so that and plus they knew what they were doing, whereas we'd never experienced anything like that before.
Got you. And did these experts help you communicate with the attackers then?
Yes, they did, and they had a plan and a number of priorities, such as checking whether the attackers did actually have the data that they said that they had, and how they planned on releasing it back to us in terms of disencrypting everything. And we wanted to be certain that our clients' data wasn't going to be permanently compromised, I suppose.
And on the subject of your customers, what was happening? What was happening with your impacted customers at this point?
I mean, looking back on it, I think that's one of the worst parts, really. We've got lots of inquiries from them, and into how it had happened, how the breach had taken place in the first place, and in the investigations we realised that the cyber attackers had been actually in our systems for several weeks. So by tracing their actions, we were luckily able to identify that it was very fortunately a very small portion of data that they'd been able to access.
And how did your customers take this news?
Well, our customers were panicking. Clients were really, really scared. But overall, they were actually very understanding. We established at a very early stage that there was no desire from any part to publicise any of the information. But generally, we had to be quite careful about not saying anything that wasn't definitely true, or anything that needed to be kept confidential.
And what happened with the negotiations?
Well, it's really challenging. It was a really difficult period of time. We were taking crisis calls, like 4 times a day, and sometimes it would be like every hour. And we established that the cyber attackers, that they were overseas, and that made a difference to in times like time periods, time scales. Now, as I've mentioned before, we had to contact them through the dark web, and which we didn't know very much about that at all. So it was the experts who told us how to operate in that cyber crime space, I suppose. And
obviously with the cyber attackers, what was it like talking with them?
Do you know, it was nothing like you'd expect. I mean, it was like, it was like dealing with, in many ways, like dealing with some legitimate business. They called us a client. They even allocated us our own account manager. And often they'd say things like, I've got another client call in 10 minutes. Can we speak again in 1 hour? I mean, it was very different to what I suppose I'd naively imagined, that it was like a teenage hacker in their bedroom or something like that, and it wasn't. I guess it showed me that, like, ransomware is actually, it's really big business in many respects. So it's no wonder that it's on the increase and getting more sophisticated every day. Yeah.
And how did the negotiations conclude?
Well, after negotiating, we eventually agreed with them to pay just a small portion of what they'd been asking for in Bitcoin.
Why Bitcoin?
Oh well, it's the experts have told us that it's completely untraceable, and it's the therefore, I suppose, the payment of choice for cyber criminals.
How did you know the attackers were going to honour the agreement after you paid them?
In short, we didn't. Our experts just suggested we had to test them.
Test them?
Yeah, we tested them by sort of like staging 4 different payments over a week or so, just to ensure that each time they gave us a specific bit of data back. Our negotiator had really pushed the cyber criminals to the edge of what was acceptable to them. I mean, there were a few times where they said they were going to release the data, but our negotiator always got them to back down on that.
And did you get all your data back?
Well, yeah, we did get proof that the data was returned. In fact, we'd already got a backup copy of the data anyway, so because a few months prior to the attack, we'd made some changes into tightening up the security of our backup and recovery procedures, and I mean that helped a great deal because it stopped the attackers from compromising the backups. I'm glad we did that. But I mean, not all the data was completely up to date, so that sort of like did pose a bit of an issue. It wasn't perfect, but the main issue was kind of a lack of accessibility for our clients. They couldn't work in a normal way.
And obviously, with all this going on, how long did the kind of whole process take with the cyber criminals to conclude?
Well, from noticing that there was something wrong to actually concluding all the negotiations and everything, it was about 9 days. However, since then we have invested in increased security and processes, which has, it means months of work and well over 7 figures cost.
Yeah, a significant amount then.
Well, yes, but if you look at the additional investment versus the downtime for us and our customers, plus the risk of reputational damage to all of the impacted business, I suppose, then it's quite a small price to pay.
Yeah, Ruth, thank you so much for being candid with us today. If you can leave our attendees with one piece of advice before we conclude this interview, what would it be?
Oh God, it was whole experience was so deeply unpleasant and very complex. It's quite hard to think of one piece of advice. I mean, what I would say though is that whatever you're spending on cyber security, it's probably not enough. And in regards to backup, make sure you are working with a supplier that can help you lock down and secure your backups. If our backup had been compromised, it would have been, the situation would have been a whole lot worse, infinitely worse.
Ruth, thank you so much again for talking to us today.
You're very welcome.
And just if you want to listen to Ruth's story again, remember we'll be having this on replay after the event, and there'll also be a companion blog out tomorrow on www.predator.com. So Ruth, thank you.
You're welcome.